Hey guys, Vlad Dobryansky here, and today I'm going to discuss the state of music education that I've been involved for the last 10 years. And I want to talk about it and get to the points of faults, get to the points of goodness, and get to the points of improvements. Because I think it's important that we do understand what is music education in general and why it's needed. First of all, let me tell you that I established American Music Academy, first in Los Angeles, then we moved to Kyiv, Ukraine before the war, as an ambassador of Berklee College of Music. And when I established, obviously it was a business, but later on it went to educational programs and so on and so forth. And what struck me one time is when I was invited to speak at one of the prominent conservatories and talk about music publishing. And when I spoke about music publishing to the graduates who were masters in composition, and a couple of students asked me, how do I get into composing movies? And and I said it's a very good venue, and you have to make sure that you network with directors and producers and get your things together. When you get an opportunity, make sure that you know how to do music right away. For example, a director or producer will have a sort of a movie reference and soundtrack reference, let's say Bach, and that's the mood they're going for. And how does a student or a composer, future composer, will grab that opportunity? So I said, well, you have to make music closer to Bach. And the students were shocked that I said that. And a dean was nearby, and the dean said, well, that's a very strange thing to say to students because Bach did the most beautiful music ever. Why would anybody even repeat it? It's impossible. That kind of stunned me because imagine if Isaac Newton created the formulas for physics and we say, well, we have no idea how he did it, and we cannot create anything more than this. So we're stuck as an evolution. So imagine that. The same with mathematics or anything like this. This is the dean of conservatory tells me and its students that the progress is basically stuck with Bach. And I was very surprised with that. I truly was. And I think this is an issue that's very important because music is nothing but healing vibrance of the universe. It's without the music, I think we wouldn't understand physics, we wouldn't understand anything. We wouldn't understand what's harmony, a very good word, harmony, how things relate to each other. And I want to talk about it today. You see, I believe that progress, not necessarily going into progress, such thing as Bach, when the conservatory doesn't know how Bach made music, and so they cannot build on top of it. That's a very sad situation. And I'm going to explain you a couple of things how this was lost along the way. First of all, conservatories were established in France to shelter the homeless children. So it was not meant to study music. And later on, they studied religious anthems, and then later on studied music of composers who wrote it. So that came to be known as conservatory. Now, the state of the education, basically, I think, from the start of industrialization, went from learning and brainstorming, like as philosophers and Greeks were talking to each other and making sure they understand what the issue is. We were put in schools to read, memorize things that were useful for industrial world, basically getting a job. And that created sort of society that we all know now. So 80% of people are followers, 10% people are creatives, basically leaders, 5% observers, right? And 5% those who are special geniuses. So if you say that, then 10% are the only creative people. So 10% are the only people who actually make something in the world, and the followers are the ones who go to school and get education in order to get a job, right? 5% are those who are whistleblowers, obviously, and they tell what's wrong with those leaders. Nobody likes those people, right? So, and I want to be part of that change a little bit. I want the world be, a little bit more like it was before the industrial world, where the evolution actually was important. So I have a guitar here, and I'll show you very simple, something that everybody knows and understands. Let's say how idea of connecting the dots or movements came into place. First of all, in the time of Bach, he was a Protestant, and music was considered religious, and every interval meant something, right? For example, an interval, which is augmented fourth, which is like that, was considered devilish. It's very unsettling. However, how Bach did it, he resolved it all the time, right? There you go. So, or for example, you go, let's say you have a D major, and the dominant to D is going to be A. So he'll resolve this through sharp 4. There you go. Right? So that's one of the important things that lost in translation. The sharp 4 now is considered as a blue note. However, it's actually way before that. So it has nothing to do with blues as an originator. Blues just used it. I used it, say, right? Sharp 4. But that's how Bach used it, right? Right, that's how I use it. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things that are very important for you to understand. Let's say we have a C major. We have chord tones, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now, how do we go from C major to the second chord, to the D minor? We do it as we taught in harmony through dominant, which is... Now, how Bach does it? He uses that harmony, but he does intervals, right? There you go. That's how he did it. He used the third note of the second chord. Then by doing so, you have these movements. See? So for example, I go from C major all the way on the chords and tonic. And so on and so forth, right? It's much easier to do that. Now, another thing is what Bach did at that time was major 6, minor 6, basically 6 intervals. And for those who don't know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the scale had also, besides the sharp 4, also a flat 6. Right? And if you have a scale like that, it'll sound like that. See how cool? With the sharp 4, it's going to be extra. See how the scale is? And by doing so, then you have a different harmony and movements. For example, I went through different key signatures already. In fact, I have 4 of them. That's also a very important move, and that's very important knowledge. Now imagine the harmony that we all know, 5 down, right? Let's do a very easy on the guitar. That's gonna be our E minor. So E minor, 5 down, 5 down, 5 down, 5 down, right? So by doing so, we have chords: E minor, A minor, D major, the G major, C major, F minor 7 sharp 5. I'm sorry, F minor 7 flat 5, and B dominant to back to E. I can do many variations of that, but let me show you how to think like Bach would do. Right? First of all, movements. What is a movement? Movement is intervals, right? Right? I'm already, see? I'm using the intervals. I'm already on D. Right? I'm already in C. I went through C, right? 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 I'm going in dominant. Right? That's a very simple melody. A lot of music was made. For example, Autumn Leaves is made on this. Sting made songs, for example, you know, The Shape of My Heart, which goes like this. Then it goes. Right? So what do we have? It's the same E minor, but he uses the 6 intervals, right? That's what Bach would do, right? So he would do the same thing. That's Bach. It's the same thing. Right? It's the same as Bach. Now, what I would add to this song, for example, is the sharp 4, for example, right? So you have then he goes before that, right? He uses the B as a dominant. I would do. That's much better, right? You're going somewhere. Right? Right? These are the movements that you can go, and by the way, you can go with one or to another key signatures based on these movements. For example, if I even improvise some, right? So, right? So you hear what I'm saying, right? I'm doing. What I've done here is the sharp 4 move. It's basically a chord like that. Right? So that's what I've done. Right? Or that's more of 19th century already. Right? So these things are important, right? Devilish, right? That's why, by the way, in folks and blues, there's a lot of devil in it, because of the sharp 4. Blues uses sharp 4, which was considered the devil sound. That's the resolution, right? If I'm going with that intervals, I have 4 keys to go to. go to this one, I can go to this one, I can go to this one, and I can go to F. There you go. So you can play with that quite a bit. What I'm trying to convey here is that the knowledge of progress that was developed without conservatories, without schooling like that, was done in conversation between people. And the modern music education is doing nothing but making sure you memorize something and you're not creative. You become 80%, or they perhaps want to eliminate the 10% to control everything. And by doing so, then you have 90% of followers. And actually, that's the idea of social media, followers, right? Likes and all that stuff. So, unconsciously, I think people willing to give up their creativity, willing to give up their ability to show their potential through creativity, and then ultimately they will become senseless, right? So it's important for us to keep that knowledge and develop more and more so. Even if it's just blues, you know, it doesn't really matter, right? 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 But doing things like that are very important, okay? And I know it's not taught in schools, not in when you study music, when you go to conservatories. It's very few in between that people understand what harmony is like, okay? So there is more to it that I want to say, but perhaps there's going to be enough, you know. So the world as we know it today is actually less creative than it was, let's say, 300 years ago. Think about it.